any questions you have in the chat. I am not someone who is bothered by the side conversations. In fact, I think it's great. So if there's something that you want to share, or a question or a concern, doubt, whatever it might be, feel free to put it in the chat. And I have 2 screens, so I'll be trying to watch both of them as we go through. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to be presenting my screen. And once you see my screen pop up with creating and sharing stories of Google Tour Builder, just give me a thumbs up so I can just have a visual indication that we're good to go. We're good? All right, perfect. So once again, thanks everyone for waking up early in the morning if you're here in India, or if you're joining us from somewhere else, it's probably very late at night. Appreciate all of the interest that we're seeing around these sort of online tech PDs. So we have one that I'm doing right now, and then Silky's going to be doing another one 30 minutes after I finish, and that will be on Seesaw Activities. So I'd love to have you join for that one as well. So I'm going to be walking you through this tool, Google Tour Builder. I'm going to be talking about the features. I'm going to be showing you a little demo example of what I've created using the platform, showing you how to use it. And then I hope at the end that we can discuss and talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that it could be used in your context. So the first question is, why am I sharing this tool? And I think there's so many tools that people are using right now that I could have done a presentation on. This one came was brought to my awareness when I was reading a blog post on Cult of Pedagogy, and I've included the link down here, and it's also linked inside of this document. Let me just share it one more time in the chat. I'll just post it in there. So if you want, you can open that up as well. And in the blog post, she was talking about creating authentic assessments. And I think this is a conversation that's happening in all of our divisions, and it's happening in schools around the world. And I think when you start to get, when you're looking at older students especially, you're trying to figure out ways that you can create authentic assessments for them that will allow them to apply their knowledge, and also try to restrict the opportunity for academic dishonesty. And so this is one tool that was something that I hadn't really explored very much before. So I thought it would be interesting to share with all of you today. Just give me 1 second. I'm just muting a few people in the chat, and you're free to unmute yourself if you have questions. I'm just muting you so that we don't have any background noise. Yeah, perfect. So in the blog post, she shares how you can use Google Tour Builder to explore current events, historical periods or phenomena, science or geography topics, global research topics, and you can even use it to have students share their personal histories or future plans or completely fictionalized stories. So it's one of those tools that has a very broad range, and those are the types of tools that we love to see being used. And we love to see our teachers exploring, because it's not going to be something that you just use once. It can be something that you use in many different ways. So by sharing it with your students and building their capacity to use the tool, it allows them to begin exploring it in not just your classroom, but in future classrooms or in other subject areas. So let's talk a little bit about what this tool can do. The main idea, as you would imagine based on the name, Google Tour Builder, is that you're going to be able to place markers anywhere on a world map. And those markers, you can also add information, optional information about dates, range of dates. You can add images, you can add videos, links, and text to each one of those markers. And you can then view or present your finished product as a 2D or 3D tour of the world. So over here you can see what I've done is I will open up my example in a moment. I just went in and I was exploring the tool myself, and I created the beginnings of a tour that would explain the origins of the coronavirus and how the early months of it, how it spread around the world. So what I did was I went in, I began to add my different points of interest, and you can see some of them there on the map. And on the left-hand side here, this is what the the application looks like when you're sharing in a 2D format once I'm finished. And over here on the right-hand side, you can see it presented in 3D format. And so you can present in either fashion. So I'm going to take my link. I'm going to share that in the chat. If you're someone who likes to look through it yourself, you're more than welcome to. While we're doing that, I'm going to be just stepping through, and then I'm going to have some time to actually create a new tour and show you how to begin adding your first points of interest. So let me open mine up. I'm going to share the link. And then here in the chat, I just pasted it. Right. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be just playing my tour right now so you can see what it looks like. This is the 2D view. So now that I've finished it, I'm now presenting my timeline. The first slide that comes up is basically the introduction to what it is that I'm showing you. So I've called this the Wuhan timeline, and I'm talking about how did the origins of COVID-19, where did it begin? And this is just a simple example with 4 points of interest. Down at the bottom here, you see that it says 1 of 5. So I'm going to be using the next button to navigate through my tour here. So let's go to the first point of interest. Once I click on next, you see that it's zoomed in, and it zoomed into the city of Wuhan here. And I have my title, Coronavirus Emerges. I have the date, December 31st to Jan 11th, that I was able to enter in. This is optional. And then I have a body of text that I've added as well. And if I go over here and I click on this, I can add images. So you're seeing right now that I'm able to add images and videos. And I'll show you an example of the video. So I can embed up to 25 pieces of media in each of these points of interest. I'll go to the next one now. This is the first death outside of China. So this is Feb 2nd. And this talks about the patient. First one outside of China was in the Philippines. So I've actually, in this case, I've quoted from an article, and I put a link in here to my source. So if you are looking at creating or having your students create a timeline of historical events, you can actually have them use various sources, and you can have them link and reference their sources inside of this text as well. Let's go to the third one. Here I talk about the Diamond Princess, the cruise ship, as many of us I'm sure already know, was based out of Yokohama, Japan, and it became a hub for many of the cases on Feb 13th. So over here, if I click on this, I've embedded a YouTube video talking about what life was like aboard the cruise ship. So again, just a way to further enhance the content that you can share inside of your tours that you're building. And then the last one I did talks about how it first came to Europe. And the first person who, the first mortality in Europe was in Paris. And that was an elderly tourist. And that was on Feb 14th. So I marked that there. So this is, again, just a simple example to show you what it looks like in 2D view. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what it looks like in 3D. So I've exited, I go over here, and I have an option. When I have this drop down, underneath play in full screen, I can go to open in Earth. And I'm going to click on that right now. So when we're looking at these two options, think that the 2D version is probably would be easier for many of our students to make sense of the platform. They would get less distracted by all of the stuff that you're going to see in the 3-dimensional view. So if I go over to Google Earth, it's loading in my tour. It's going to have saved all of the spots that I've already added. And the interface will look similar, but it's definitely a little bit different. And you'll see that as I'm moving around, I'm rotating in between, and I even have, like animated cloud coverage and things like that. So this really, it's more engaging. But again, depending on the age group of your students, it could also be more distracting. So let's go in and let's click on present, and the Earth will rotate, and it will zoom in on my first point of interest. And you can also further zoom in. So even once I've got to the point of interest, I can move around on my map. I can click and I can zoom further in. I can put it as a three-dimensional view, and it will rotate around my point. And then when I'm ready, I click on the next arrow, and it will zoom out, and it will move me to my second point. Okay? So again, this is just an example. Let's go ahead and let's actually start creating. So I'm going to be posting links for to access both of these. You can build your tour inside of Tour Builder with Google.com. I'm just going to paste this link. Getting Street View, I will share, Arun. I can share an example of another tool. In fact, I'll just do that right now. All of these are made by Google, and they are similar, but they have advantages to each of them. So let me just put all three links, and I'll explain that real quick. The first one that I put in, Tour Builder, that is the window that you're looking at right now. This is the two-dimensional view to create a guided tour. And this is probably the easiest interface to use of all of the three that I posted. The second one, which is the AR/VR Google Tour Creator, that one looks at using 360-degree images to create tours. So when you're thinking about using this, you're probably thinking about giving a tour of a smaller area. So you might want to give a tour of a specific city, or you might want to give a tour of a specific building where there are already a lot of 360 images online. So a museum tour, an apartment tour, a school tour, a city tour. And it uses these 360 images, and you can put hotspots. So it looks a lot like Google Expeditions. Excuse me. And I think many of us have used Google Expeditions with our students. So this is another tool that you can explore. But it's going to be, again, more of a narrow scope. And when you're thinking about the other two, Tour Builder and Google Earth, these are going to be looking at more global, or even a country or a province. Or, as I mentioned, it could be something completely fictional. So students could create a fictional migration story based on information that they've gleaned from books that they've read or research that they've done on why people move from place to place. Or they could be sharing an example of a trip that they took where they traveled around the world and visited different places. So the third one there, the Google Earth, this is going to allow you to, you can also use it to edit. You can create a new project here. And this is going to be, you're simply going to be editing and creating in a three-dimensional view instead of a two-dimensional view. Okay. Let's go ahead for the questions about audio. Why don't I go in and show you and start editing, and then you can see what are the various options. And again, feel free to keep the questions coming as we're going through. So in order for you to get started, I'm going to go back here. You just need to sign in with your Google account, and you can click on the button that says My Tours, and you can create your own tour for the first time. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to create a new tour. I'm going to give it a name. Does anybody have an idea for me to create something right now with, say, we're going to just do like 2 or 3 spots? Anyone have an idea of a tour they would like us to create?
How about
Go
BKC?
ahead.
BKC,
Sure.
ASB.
Sure. So BKC. So for this one again, we can do just BKC, but why don't we just do points of interest or something like that in BKC? That way, there's a little bit of movement around when it goes from point to point. So we'll just do BKC points of interest, right? Okay. So again, the introduction slide is what the first one that comes up. So you're going to have the tour name, the author name. You can add introduction picture here, and you can begin telling your story. So you can see there are some simple formatting options here where you can type in a description, you can embed links, you can do bullets. So what I'm going to do is just type in, this is a tour of important areas or buildings in Bandra Kurla complex. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to click on add location. And I'm going to be able to search for the location by typing it in. Or if I know where it is on the map, I could drop a place mark. Or if I'm creating a fictional story, I don't need it to be exactly accurate. I just want to have a rough area where people understand my characters maybe have moved through this region. Then I can drop a place mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start. We'll do American School of Bombay. Start our tour there. Yep. So I've zoomed in. I'm going to click on add to tour. Now it's being added to the left-hand side here where all of my points of interest are going to be mentioned. So now I can enhance the story, and that's where I can add photos and videos. So you asked about audio. So I guess a short answer for you would be you can't just add only audio. You could upload videos instead of audio, but you can't just do audio narration on this. You can do audio narration on Google Tour Creator. So if you'd like and you have questions about that, you're free to ask me. You can explore that and you can reach out to me. For this one, though, you add photos and videos. So you use that to enhance the point of interest, to give more information, to build the setting, to give contextual information. You also can add a start date and an end date. So these are optional. You don't need to put them. But if you are telling a time-bound narrative, then you're welcome to add in start and end dates to help the user, the reader, or the viewer understand the time frame in which the tour took place. You can type in your introduction, right? This is where our story begins. And then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add another location. So maybe MMRDA grounds. And then I click on add to tour. And now once I have 2 points, you'll see that there's a line that's drawn between them, right? Showing, and it will end up creating the whole, the series of lines connecting the different points of interest here. You can also modify the view. So when I'm looking at this point of interest, I can zoom in a little bit. And when I'm happy with it, I can click on lock this view. And now this is going to be what my viewers see when they click on this point of interest. I'll add another location, right? Let's do Gaucha. There you go. I'll zoom in a little bit and add that to the tour. And then one more point of interest. How about, yeah, we can do Mumbai cricket. Sure. Oh, we have to do the diamond building probably, right? Yeah. There you go. So now you see all the points and the lines that are connecting between them. When you're ready to view it, you click over here at Done Editing. And then I can share by copying this link, giving access to people just like you would with any Google document. I can also play it in full screen. Let me go all the way back to the first point, right? And then as I click, it's moving in between the different points of interest. And let's open this up in Earth, just so you can see some of the subtle differences between the two applications. Yeah, you could present it as a link to the students. I would suggest probably sharing it as a link, embedding it on a Google slide. Good question. If I go to export, no. So you couldn't export it. What you could do is I would say you take a screenshot. So if you make something, you could take a screenshot of it, and then you could turn that screenshot in the slide into a link. And then when they click on the screenshot, it opens up inside of a new tab on the web browser. That's what I would suggest. All right, so if I'm looking at Google Earth, right, it's already loaded in my points. But let's go inside and let's click on this edit feature button. And let's look at some of the differences here. You can see at the top, it's asking if I want to upload images. I can also search inside of Google Images right inside the window. So I could search for American School of Bombay, see if we have some images that pop up. Yep. So I can take some of these. Let's add this one, select it, and it's going to load that in. And I can continue to add more images, and it will load those. Scrolling down, you can also change what is the place mark. So I could maybe make this place mark larger. I could change the icon of it, and I can also change the color. And then I can also change the view. I can change the tilt angle, and then I can capture this view. So the interface between the two of them is fairly similar, so there's a lot of crossover. So if you did introduce one, you could easily introduce the other, or you can choose the one that maybe would meet the needs of your students based on their skills and their age group and the project you're asking them to do. At this point, we've had some time just to explore it. I want to talk just for a moment again. When we're thinking about assessment and we're thinking about creating authentic assessment, and Kelly's been doing a great job of sharing some of these big ideas around virtual learning. And as you know, the past week, I guess I would even say the past 2 weeks, you've really been thinking about how to design for assessment. So if you look at this, the document that I have here that I've linked and I shared in Sunday's email, if you look at those guiding questions and you're thinking about how can you provide your students with an opportunity for them to apply their knowledge, how can they create something that will demonstrate their understanding? So I really think that this can be a wonderful tool that can fit into many different content areas or subjects. And I think that as we're looking at the current situation, we see that this is really such a global issue. So providing your students with an opportunity to show their understanding of a topic using the world as their canvas, I think will be very effective. So with that being said, we have a little bit of time. I'd love to hear some ideas from you in the chat, thinking about the work that you're doing with your students now, or the work that you could be doing with your students in a few weeks. What would be something that you could do with this tool before the end of the school year? Let's get some ideas generated in the chat, because we know that any ideas that come out can lead to more ideas and creativity from the rest of us. No, Sharon, you don't have to download any software at all. Everything is on the browser. And again, I'm very happy to answer any specific questions or to help you in any way. If you decide that you want to create something either for your kids or to give them an opportunity to create something themselves. Yeah, that's a great idea, Liz. Definitely, you could talk about, you could even do a wonderful world tour of famous artists. You could have a whole bunch of their images of the things that they've created be the supporting, up to 25 images or videos in each one of those points of interest, right? So you could put all of those in each one. So as the students are traveling around, they could see where the artist came from, what did their artwork look like, and then do sort of like that global trip, so to speak. Sharon, that's funny. I think definitely you could create a wonderful example of the places that you would love to be in right now and what you would be doing in those places. And I think that would be a fun activity, just at a social emotional level for kids to be thinking about the things that they enjoy doing and the things they're looking forward to doing once this situation ends. Right? Any other ideas out there? And again, if you have questions still, feel free. If you want to unmute your microphone and you have a question, we can open it up now. We don't need to be as strict about following certain meeting protocols. Yeah, it would be really fun for the kids, definitely. And then I will share, for this one, Google Tour Creator. We've used the one that I didn't show. We used this in modern foreign languages quite a bit in middle school this year. So where students were able to create tours of specific cities. And I'll just share a link of one from the gallery so you can see how it's a little bit different.
Alex,
Yeah,
Silky had introduced Google Earth to our kids about a month ago, a month or
yeah.
so ago. So, is it possible for the children to access and use the tool maybe on a very simple level? Just get three pictures or something that they could do on their own.
Yeah, I think if they have already used Google Earth and they've already done some exploration, because I think that's kind of what I saw. I saw that with second grade too, that they were on Google Earth and they were just loving the fact that you could go to any place in the world. They would like wanting to show their friends where they came from and zoom in on the map. So I think that those skills will certainly help. I think the main thing that needs to be communicated to them is just how to navigate to the projects panel instead of just looking at the world map to explore. You going to projects and clicking on new project, create from Google Drive, and then adding a new feature. And I think this they could do. I think if we built some tutorial slides in their virtual learning, or maybe even a video, that would be really useful for them.
Or maybe this could be one of an option for
Yeah,
anyone who wants to explore, because it seems to me that although they know Google Earth and we used it uh, for the unit where we are in place and time, where they got to
yeah,
pick their home and they put a little thing about it. But that was Google Earth, and this is different.
it's a little different. That's true. Yeah. I do think that it would be nice as an extension activity though, or giving them that option, right?
Yeah.
Kyla, tracking where food originates in species climates around the world and how they move from place to place. Yeah, there would be some parental help for sure with that age group. I think it would be quite a fun project though. It would be something that parents would be learning alongside their children. I also wanted to show this other thing, which I didn't realize that I hadn't shown already, is that you can also create shapes. So instead of adding specific points, you could draw a shape and you can mark that shape. So where, say wine comes from, then save that. And then that shape itself becomes one of the spots instead of a point. So that's an interesting thing to explore too. Because you could easily do one about biodiversity, climates, different biomes, where they could look at a world map and they could actually draw whole shapes and say, this is an example of a desert biome. And inside of that desert biome, they could add images and videos showing the types of animals and plants that you would find inside of there. Any other ideas before we wrap things up? Any other ideas, questions that you might have? I'll do closing window. All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock, 9:01 to be precise, and that's it for our time. This recording will be added to the slideshow, so that you'll find a link there in case you want to go back and look at anything. The 3 links, I'll put all 3 of them inside that document as well, so you can find the resources here. Um, Feel free to reach out to myself or anyone from the IT team if you have any questions, if you need any tips or tutorials for your students. And thank you all so much for your time. Hope you
Thanks,
have a great
Alex.
day. And please, if
Thank
you
you,
have if you
Alex.
have time in your schedule, make sure you stop by and listen to Miss Silky talk about the the seesaw activities. It's another great way for us to not reinvent the wheel, but use the knowledge and expertise of not only our teachers in our community, but teachers around the world who are creating home learning engagements for their students using seesaw. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.
I think I
Thank you,
think
Alex.
we're in the same room for Silkies, I believe. I think I made it the same link. Let me just check real quick.
So if we just stay here, will Silky come on to this chat?
Yeah, you just stay here. I mean, it's a 30-minute break, but you can turn off your video, turn off your microphone, go for a walk. You can chat with each other. I'm going to step away, but I'm just going to turn off the recording now so that we stop the recording, and then I'll start it up again in 30 minutes.
Yeah, thanks.